Hello friends, I'm back with a new analysis on what's happening in the Russian SMO. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded as much, but it was the new year and no real frontline changes were going to happen. Also, I took time to update the map even more now. We'll be covering more international events and I will slowly cover everything happening in the Russian SMO. Not only Donbass where I started to cover, also I made a Telegram channel where I show stuff where I can't show on YouTube. There will also be parts where the video freeze. But it's mostly in the beginning with the first two videos, but later on the video will go smoothly. In the video that coming up it will show a Russian aircraft flying over deep Ukraine territory where it seems no anti-air system. We're even trying to shut down the aircraft. Once it reached a certain distance it launched a missile which was heading to dispose of Ukrainian grouping. The missile used was a guided missile. The strike happened inside Malynivka city. We believe the Russian 11th Aviation Army was attacking a grouping of Ukrainian soldiers. In this other video, we can only show a little bit as it shows death of Ukrainian soldier. But it shows that Russian drone operators are preparing the area for ground operations. This drone attack happened somewhere inside the Lyman Pervy forest. It was reported that also the Russians started a new offensive, but somewhere else near the Krokmon area that located in the Kupiansk sector. So we will update on that as well. As you can see that, the vicinity of where the drone attack could have been. But as you can also see, those were probably forward positions who warned rear troops. Russians are still doing localized attacks on Sinkovka, containing their pressure on Ukrainian units in the area, attacking the city directly and the road. We can expect further attacks all over these area, as Russian artillery and drone operators are preparing the area for ground forces. Here in the Terny sector, Russian advance further towards Terny. So you see to be a further Russian advance. But video proof of drone attacks show Ukrainian forces in what was Russian positions. So put what was Russian positions that showed UAF in them, in the gray zone. In the Belogorovka sector we have reports that Russian are going on the offensive. We will see what more happens in this sector. Russian forces have captured vessel. This creates a clear path to Seversk and can also QS UAF to leave Belogorovo and their villages that are in the area. We expect the Russian to rest up for a few days and then continue regular operations. In the Chasovarska sector in the Bodnivka area, claims of further advance of Russian forces have been speculated, but these are just writings and words. No evidential proof has been released. Also on the railways more claims but no solid evidence. We just know that Russian troops continue their offensive in this area, along the railway and inside the village. Now southwest of the Arkmosk sector and city. North of Klishivka village there been a big advance that secured the Russian salient and made it for possible further advance towards Ivanivsky. These advances didn't happen in a day, though these took around 2 weeks to complete. With this, Russian now have more area to spread Ukrainian forces thin. Further south in the Avdiivika area, Russian forces liberated the village and other parts of the railroad that previously been under Ukrainian control. This will allow to attack Ukrainian soldiers in southwest Klishivka from behind and force them to leave. Here in the Krasnohorovka sector, Russian force made even further advances in all directions of the salient, striking Ukrainian forces in this area. We can see that the Russian have reached the edge of the area of the Dacha area but weren't able to get a foothold. But the salient is long enough that Russian and do a full attack across. And they already started with the offensive towards Berdichi and Stepov Aegean. And in the north of the salient, Russian forces advanced northward, but stopped at the Ig. This was probably to expand the salient as much as possible, without taking heavy casualties now. But if Avdiivika falls, we suspect this is the next village on the Russian list to liberate. Here in Stepov there was a tiny advance by Russian forces. Now Ruoff owned 15% of Stepov, the rest in the gray zone. Here in Avdiivika itself, Russian forces advanced further southward. to the central parts of Avdiivika, taking the Ukrainians to a two-front of attack. This area is very important, as Russian will try to cut off the chemical plant to the rest of Avdiivika. And if this success, Ukrainian forces in the south will come under heavy pressure, even more than it is now. As you can see, the situation in Avdiivika sector has gotten worse, and it's a matter of time before the Ukrainian will have to abandon Avdiivika or face a close encirclement. Reports from Ukrainian and Russian sources have came in yesterday of Russian forces having a major advance in the south of Avdiivika. If this come out to be true, then this is the mark of the end of Ukrainians in Avdiivika, as this advance is causes multiple strongholds to fall under Russian control. We have a Russian source that reports that the fortification northeast of factory of southern Avdiivika has been liberated. We say the units that took part of this operation was the International Brigade Pyatnishki, supported by 10th Tank Regiment, who stormed the trench. These are the ardent Ukrainian soldiers who were captured by the International Brigade Pyatnishki, but I do believe that some of the brigade had Wenger soldiers in it, as a soldier had a Wenger patch on his right arm in the video. In the Marinska sector, Russian forces fully cleaned up Marinska and have even pushed further to the other village, capturing the intersection and consolidating their control over the area. Russian forces have captured a stronghold northeast of Novomykhailova, making it easier to advance, but this capture has happened 1 week ago, and no other reports has come in, so we may not see an advance on this area for a while. There is some reports that Russian forces made another big advance in this sector, but no proof of advances have been released for now. Will only mark this as Russian claimed advance. In Novomykhailova city, Russian forces have done no offensive inside the town, but they are bombing it to prepare way for Russian movement in the town. Russian artillery was bombing this area, probably a grouping of Ukrainian Marines who were preparing to evacuate or preparing to disembark to reinforce Krinky, but altogether they are no more. Russian forces continue to bombard all disembark zones, as reports of Ukrainian troops withdrawing in Krinky. There are still Ukrainian troops left, but overall Ukrainian troops are leaving and trying to get on boats to leave the Russian side of Kherson. For now, the situation is impossible for Ukrainian soldiers to even fight in Krinky. It's a meat grinder for Ukraine, as it was planned by the Russia to be so, and Russian generals have finally given the order for the full recapture of Krinky and the death of all Ukrainian soldiers who are in the city. Overall, the situation is getting worse for Ukraine, as Russia goes on the offensive in most fronts, and Avdiivika being the most dangerous of being captured by the Russian forces. Anyways, thank you for watching, and remember, we do not support any violence around the world. I hope you have a safe and great day. Goodbye.